All right, so I'm currently on the phone with Internal Rhyme. I'm going to go ahead and give him the chance to introduce himself.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Jeremy, but I go by Internal Rhyme. I'm a hip hop artist from the city of Philadelphia, currently located out in LA now, and been making music for 17 years and been taking it seriously for about the last 10. And just happened to meet Alex online, and pleasure to take part in the podcast. I was really excited when I heard about it.
Perfect, awesome, and thanks for being here. So with these interviews, I always like to, kind of get into the moments when you first found music. What about it was inspiring to you? How old were you? What made you want to pursue it for your life?
Yeah, so I've always I've like dabbled in different parts of music, but I'm a rapper primarily, and that's definitely where the love started for me. I'm 28 now, but I first started hearing rap music when I was like 7 maybe. So I had a babysitter that I used to go to, and my mom would work that or like an after school sitter or something. And so she had a teenage daughter who was like 16 who would play rap records, and that's kind of how I got into it originally. And then early on, when I was around like 10, I started actually writing my first raps. I can't even remember what the first rap I wrote was, which is kind of cool. It's just always been a thing. But the first like really vivid memory I have is I have a cousin, Jason, who unfortunately passed away when I was 10. And that was a really big, obviously developing moment for me. And I remember writing a tribute song to him, and that was the first time I ever did anything like that. And from there, it was obvious that that was like kind of my way of coping, and furthermore, part of just part of me, and it forever stuck with me. I was into poetry for a little bit. I've dabbled in music production a little bit, videography a little bit, but throughout everything, like just being a hip hop lyricist is has been the most consistent.
Awesome. So, typically when I've interviewed other rappers or anything, they haven't participated much in like the school curriculum, but did you happen to partake in any of like the school music programs, whether it be like choir or drumline or concert band, any of the stuff like that?
No, I'm kind of similar in that I didn't take part in any formal like musicality in school. Although like I can't read music, I never really played an instrument. In the fifth grade, I tried to play the viola for like a couple months, and I just didn't stick with it. I tried guitar in ninth grade. It just wasn't my thing, even though it was cool. But I was like, I dabbled in different parts of school stuff.
Hmm.
So when I was in like middle school, I was in the musicals, not because I was really a great singer, but I did like acting for a little bit.
Sure.
And then and then in later high school, what was cool and really I guess like formative was I took part in a lot of poetry slams that went
Hmm.
on both at like my high school did a yearly one where we would practice for quite a while, and then I branched off, and there was a really cool scene in Philly for kids my age at that time. So between I guess like my last 2 years of high school, 17 and 18, I was really into that, and then going into college. And I did in general go to school for a long time, but just not for anything musical. I'm actually by school trade a social worker.
Okay, awesome. So, along those lines, I would assume that a lot of the interaction that you had with either writing lyrics or anything was very much like on the hobby basis, done outside of school based on your own interest, sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. Although, there's that obvious like cringe I get around the word hobby because I always want to fight back against that. But
Hmm.
the way I engaged in it for sure, it was like after school, during school, I guess. But like, yeah, it was kind of just my own thing that I developed over time, and obviously then started collaborating with people and friends in different ways.
Sure. And so you did mention that you did dabble in a bit of production. Did you kind of step into that at that same time, or what was kind of the progression from, you have a set of lyrics, you want to get a song done. What was kind of your creative process?
Yeah, good question. It was more in the earlier days that I would spend more time making beats. And I think you're right. I think it was just in the general, like when I started learning how to create music, even really terribly, but on my computer at least, and I bought my first detachable USB mic and stuff like that. and I was using like a cracked version of Fruity Loops. So I think that was actually what, because I had the Fruity Loops and I was just recording into there, I
Hmm.
started just kind of playing around with making beats. And I think that was around probably like ages like 13, 14. And I just never really stuck with it, even though it was really cool. I guess it just wasn't, I didn't find like the same natural talent for it. I always, even though obviously we all have room to improve, there was something about writing lyrics where I at least like knew I was good at it. And then
Hmm.
beat making was like fun, but it wasn't what I saw as my calling. So now at this point, I don't even really, I would say I dabble more in like engineering more than
Hmm.
like actual beat making production. But even that, I try to like really just focus on the core of what I love, which still after all these years is just like writing, recording, performing lyrics.
Sure, absolutely. So I would imagine at some point you kind of decided that, since it wasn't your calling to be the beat maker, you kind of had to start reaching out, looking for people that you could either lease beats from or buy beats from. What was that process like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was younger and I guess like high school years, I didn't it didn't really matter as much. I guess this was, before like Spotify to, so we're talking like maybe between like 2009 and 2012 is like when I was in the later years of high school. And there there wasn't a lot. So sorry, with there not being really Spotify and things like that, I feel like there wasn't as much pressure to actually have original beats. So if I was recording music at that time, I started just recording freestyles over other beats. Me and
Hmm.
my friend made this really funny music video when I was in 10th grade to Black and Yellow by Wiz Khalifa, and
Hmm.
like so we would do things like that. And then it was around the time that I actually, so when I was 18, I kind of reformed or rebranded myself as a more serious artist. That's when like I took up the name Internal Rhyme, and I just started, I guess, taking it a little more seriously and trying to
Hmm.
pursue it as a career, or like trying to actually find out what it takes to make it. And so anyway, that's when I started actually looking for more beats. And then at that time, again, I was still pretty broke, so I was like just looking for free YouTube beats. And over time, it was actually building relationships with producers that
Hmm.
got me to start buying beats because one, I just like developed more appreciation for their side of the craft, and two, I just wanted to support them genuinely. So a couple producers that I work with heavily, shout out my man Digital Crates, from Philly, my man Trey Teese from Arizona, who my homie from Arizona I've made like 20 songs with, but we've never met in person, and it was all just he reached out a couple, probably like 2016 or something, and just showed some love, and we just started talking. And he wasn't a typical person in your DMs just like trying to sell you something, which it was just genuinely, I like your music, but yeah, here, take a listen, what do you think? um and yeah, anyway, so over time, like when I just grew relationships with producers, then I would just start buying beats more consistently. And
Sure.
now I just have a different type of respect for it where um I will just go out and look for a beat to lease, unless
Hmm.
it's somebody again that I have a couple producers who I just work more closely with, where it's not your typical like leasing agreement, and we
Sure.
just split the music and split the profit.
Awesome. Very cool. So, kind of moving into what you're working on now. Obviously, you've been working with these other beat makers and producers and things like that. Give me a little bit of background on what the name Internal Rhyme means to you.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So again, it kind of came at this time when I was 18. I had just started college at Rutgers, and I had decided I was going to take music more seriously again. Because again, for those last few years before that, I was really into the slam poetry side. So I still appreciated the lyricism, but I wasn't so concerned with actual music. And then again, I'm 18. I'm like, you know what? Let me like go back to really making music seriously. And my name up until that point was Jay Gold. My legal name is Jeremy Goldsmith. And I had someone when I was in my senior year of high school, someone through the poetry scene, kind of jokingly tell me that like, I'd been a rapper for so long and the best name I could come up with was Jay Gold, and it was so unoriginal that I should think of something else. And it really stuck with me, that like I was like, you know what? I do deserve like something a little more creative than that. And then I just sat on it for a while. I don't know. I remember one night literally searching online while I was just brainstorming names. And at that time, this was also like a funny transition in music. That was when Spotify was first kind of catching on. But the most relevant way to search for somebody was through like F Feature FM or something like that. I forget, not Feature FM. That's like a link website. But there's one of these old websites where, anyway, that's how I was searching for artist names, and somehow Internal Rhyme hit me, and it was because quite literally, I just have a really big appreciation for different types of rhyme schemes, and even through the
Hmm.
poetry, I'd really stuck with that. And then, so I thought somehow that name hit me. I was like, wow, that sounds really cool. I searched it online. Nobody had come up with that name. And then I kind of grew into the meaning of it, which from the jump obviously had some sort of dual meaning between literally internal rhyming within a line, and then
Hmm.
also what does it mean internally? So, and to me now, it just kind of means that it's both like, my music is both intricate in skill, and then also it's just supposed to be introspective, and a lot of it is emotional, and it's about like just my emotional experience, and sometimes it's a little abstract, and that's what the internal means to me.
Sure, absolutely. So I imagine you've got some stuff coming out. Give me some details about the stuff that you're working on and what you're excited to get out there.
Yeah, so I'm working on a couple different things right now, but the main formula right now is dropping a lot more singles, because that is the way of the world. So right now, I'm really trying to just gear up a couple singles. The one that I'm really excited to announce today is one that I have dropping on July 1st, so a little less than 2 weeks, and it's actually co-produced by YK out of 808 Mafia, which is definitely a really big name to have on a record, and that's really exciting. And it's also produced by my man Image, who again just met online through some cool networking. He's a really dope producer. I don't even remember what city he's from, which is kind of cool to say, but we've been
Hmm.
linked up for a little bit. And anyway, this track that I'm about to drop is super like fun but also aggressive, and it's the last few songs I've dropped have been a little softer, I would say, like in literal musicality. The last song, Old and Gray, I dropped was like a love song with my homie Stevie Strange, which was really dope. But and I'm really excited that this next single just takes my music back in like a more aggressive direction. But
Hmm.
then following that, I got a couple more singles I'm working on with Stevie Strange, who's a really talented singer out of my hometown, Cheltenham, right outside of Philadelphia. And yeah, I got a lot of collab tracks right now. I guess that's what I'm gearing up for. Besides just generally dropping singles, I have like four different people I worked with in the last month, and that's really cool because I was purposely seeking that out, and I was just kind of looking to make music with new people. So a couple new producers and a couple new uh, lyricists, and then one or two singers too. So just a lot of different kinds of singles coming.
Awesome. So, going back over the period of time that you have been working in music, what are some of your memories that stand out to you that either keep you motivated or had a major impact on you?
There are obviously so many, but I guess I'm just thinking what naturally comes to mind first. The big claim to fame from this past year, and something that definitely meant a lot for me, is it was almost a year ago now, last August. I had the opportunity to perform at the Rose Bowl, um, for the Foodie Land Festival. And I didn't know what the Rose Bowl, do you know what the Rose Bowl is?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm I guess just not being from LA, I didn't know what it was when I got this show opportunity. And
Hmm.
then so, first my homie Signs from up in the Bay Area hit me up about the show that he was going to be down in the LA area for. I had no idea what it was. I just thought, cool, sounds like a good opportunity. Signs my man. They
Hmm.
give me a 45-minute set. Sounds awesome. And then I actually looked up the Rose Bowl and found out what it was. And when I started telling people, they were super impressed. And then
Hmm.
it was a really fun opportunity. It was again at this Foodie Land festival. So just this outdoor food fest where they just had musical performers. And again, I had like a 45-minute set. It was really fun. Especially during COVID, I have not been out and about so much. So that was the first like kind of safe and fun performing opportunity that had come my way. So that's a really strong, more recent memory that I'm holding really dear. That was a really fun show.
Hmm.
one or two others that I think of. Before I left Philly, which was about 3 years ago, I was throwing a lot of shows myself with my homie OG Juan,
Hmm.
and who's a DJ and a producer of his own. And we basically just started throwing our own shows because we had played enough of these like smaller Philly bars that we had just started connecting with the venue owners. And we enjoyed just kind of having control over the show when we would throw it, deciding who was going to perform, splitting the money, or if we didn't make that much money, at least breaking even and having a really good time and meeting a lot of people. And we threw we never actually counted, but I guess I would estimate probably like 15 shows in a year or two, and they were all just so fun. It was a lot of work, and it was kind of like the organizing of these shows is a headache that I probably wouldn't go for again necessarily, because it
Hmm.
it definitely takes away from the performance. And my voice always gets shot on stage, and it would especially be shot if I was throwing a show because I was yelling all night long, and then I was usually the last person to perform. Um, but that was so like it was just so fun though when I look back on it, and we had a lot of good memories doing that. So that's number two, and just to think of a quick third one, I'll say I guess just thinking back to my times at Rutgers, which is where I went to undergrad from 2012 to 2016, I really developed, not only is that where like the name Internal Rhyme was born, but I really developed like my style and confidence performing. They in New Brunswick, they're very big on basement shows. That's the thing over there. So I just did so many of those college basement shows that were really fun, and honestly, people are a lot more engaged than a lot of other environments. So yeah, those are the ones that really come to mind, even though there's so many more, because it's just so fun at the end of the day.
Awesome. So why don't you take a moment to put out like your social media links, people where people can find you and take a listen to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, my name is Internal Rhyme, like internally, externally, internal, and I'm available on any platform. So you can search me on social media, just one word, Internal Rhyme, and then my music is available on any music platform, Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, etc. Just two words, Internal Rhyme. Again, I have this new single Reaper coming out July 1st. And in the meantime, if you're listening to this, I just really appreciate you, and feel free to reach out and connect. And if you make music, I'd probably love to collaborate, and keep tuning in to this amazing podcast because Alex is really giving opportunities to artists like myself to just have a voice, and it's really appreciated.
Awesome. Thanks for the plug there. Um,
Yeah.
I always like to give the person the opportunity to put out a message that you generally believe in, something that you want to throw out there that you vibe with.
Yeah, I feel like this is the hardest question, but it's such a good one, honestly, and it's very original. But uh, I don't have anything specially worded, but I guess just speaking off the top, I just do want to, or I guess something sticking with me from these last few questions is just really how enjoyable the journey of music is. And that's something I really believe in. And I've grown over time to love this journey so much. It's a very cliche thing that we've grown to say. I mean, cliche, but really important thing that we grow to say about the world is loving the journey. And I think for me as a music artist, that's where I really find that to be true. That at this point in time, I obviously have goals I'm trying to reach. There's measures of success to some degree, but ultimately, the biggest measure of success is that, any day, not to be morbid, but could be your last. And I think it's just if you can live that last day, whatever the literal accomplishment was, but just saying that like you enjoyed spending so much time doing this, that is a real measure of success. And that's what I do it for.